Hello, everyone.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us here on our coverage of the big Acer event next at Acer, which has gotten the really interesting and hopefully really sustainability focused Made for Humanity tagline. I am Magnus, live here from the Game Reactor studio in Denmark, but because we're such an international organization, well, I am being joined by the person who just welcomed you, Ben Lyons from the UK. Hello, Ben.
Hello, everyone. And yes,
Hi.
welcome to this show. I'm excited to be here. I don't know about you, Magnus. I think we're in for a real treat of a show here.
Yes, I think so as well. It's going to be really interesting. These kind of tech shows where different manufacturers come out of the woodwork to announce new, exciting products. There's dozens of them in the months of September, October, November, you name it. People even call them now Techtember and Techtober and Techvember. I don't know. But the thing is, usually I don't pay too much attention because there's simply too many of them to actually keep track. But this year, because of the Made for Humanity tagline, I am really interested, Ben.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one indeed because we don't really ever see tech companies focus entirely on, these sort of what we expect to be, should we say, like eco-friendly and sustainability. Like, they're usually parts of their shows, they're usually parts of their products. But you rarely ever get these, like, conferences designed for these, particularly around, or should I say, framed around this idea. So it's going to be a unique show. I think we're in for a real treat, and I'm looking forward to it starting in around 27 minutes.
Yeah, in 27 minutes' time, we will be going live to the show. But Ben and I actually won't be leaving. We will be live commenting, providing you a bit of live reaction to what they show on stage. As Ben says, it is really interesting to see where they're going to take this tagline, because as Ben says, while sustainability of course is an aspect which Apple and Microsoft and Google always try to make a part of their show. For instance, Apple, talking about their environmental impact when they cut the charger from the box of iPhones. Well, it is mostly just a simple little, a little comment or something at the end of a large product announcement. Whereas this Made for Humanity tag, well, seems to suggest that it is the focal point of the entire. That is really interesting, and hopefully something we're going to see more of as these tech companies are sort of waking up to the fact that they have a huge responsibility in the environmental impact of their products, generating e-waste, and of course contributing in some way to an ever-present cycle of consumers buying new products, replacing old products. So it is great to see companies like Acer really taking that mantle of responsibility on themselves. It is actually something that they've been doing for years, in fact. They all the way back in 2018, 2019, 2020, actually showcased some of this sort of reorganized focus on sustainability as one of the key figures, key aspects of their business, introducing technologies such as antimicrobial coverings on like laptop hinges and decks and keyboards and trackpads, while also putting together products like the Vero, which is a completely sustainability focused product, something that we're thinking will get a refresh at today's show. So the point of the matter here is that when you are looking at Acer specifically, you kind of believe it when they say that this is going to be a sustainability and sort of environmental impact focused show. So that's really awesome. But I'm guessing, Ben, that Acer won't let us leave without looking at some gaming products as well. That's at least what I thought.
Yeah, I think, obviously gaming is a massive part of the tech industry, so I'd assume we're going to get something in the gaming space. I'm not too sure what it'll be. Acer has a lot of different gaming related products that they have under their belt. The desktops, laptops, monitors. Like, this could be anything. But if I had to guess, Acer won't leave their gaming community on the wayside, by the wayside when it comes to this show, despite the fact that this is a show that is seemingly framed mostly about sustainability and eco-friendliness.
Yeah, because obviously, when you're looking at the sort of the wallpaper that they've used, all green hues and sort of flowers and plants, and the Acer logo not being the Predator logo, for instance, not being present anywhere in the official graphic, well, that would kind of suggest, at least, that this would be something that is much more sort of casual, consumer-oriented, launching products, perhaps in their Concept D division as well, which is made for prosumers and for professional workflows, as well as something just, slightly cheaper, slightly more accessible, but then having this sustainable aspect to them in the way that they can, make more environmentally friendly products available at lower prices. But just as you say, well, this is also a big fall tech event. And regardless of the tagline and the focus, well, one would have to guess that there have to be a broad range of products present here, mostly because that this is both for the consumer. Obviously, it's mainly for the consumer, but it's also investor oriented, meaning that those people who have an invested interest in Acer, well, they have to tune in and see, well, this company is modern. They have interesting products in the pipeline for different kind of consumer categories. Well, they have this under control. That's basically the message that they want to send. So, I'm hoping for all of the things that you just mentioned, like new desktops. That'd be cool, particularly in a world where getting something as simple as a freaking graphics card seems like, well, that seems like it's going to be impossible for a little while longer. So getting any pre-built, to me, would be massively interesting. And the same with monitors. Hopefully also maybe Acer will step up their peripheral game. That would be interesting as well. But before we move on any further, Ben, I hope you'll excuse me, because we are obviously officially collaborating with Acer on covering the show for you guys. And because of that, well, they actually sent over something rather interesting, which I have right beside me here. This is, well, I thought at first it was going to be a mini fridge, but it is a cooler, and it is a cooler of incredible production value. I mean, this is a thick boy. It is heavy. It has really thick sort of steel-like walls and this really cool opening mechanism. So if I do this in a Terminator-like fashion, well, you'll see a couple of pieces of swag that Acer sent over. And I might think there might be a couple of hints in here, Ben, about what we're going to see.
Oh, that is exciting.
So, well, obviously, you might notice that while the Predator logo lacks on the official graphic, it is on both the cooler and on these caps, which we have received. So they're really cool. Obviously, the official Predator logo there with the blue and black hues, which is sort of what they're known for. But that's not all, because while you, Ben, will be drinking your thin coffee, I will be enjoying a Predator Shot energy drink, which they were so kind to send over. They are obviously kept cool, or cooler than regular living room temperature, ever so slightly. And that's something that I'm going to be enjoying while the show's on. And I don't think I can abstain from it much longer. So I'm just going to say cheers and see what this is like.
Well, it looks delicious if you ask me.
Oh, yeah. You never do quite like. You never get rid of the taste of energy drink. They all taste the same, and it's just various aspects of awful. But we really do appreciate the gesture, and this is just such a cool piece of gear to send over for a kind of show like this. So that is really awesome. So thank you, Acer, for that. But actually, Ben, I wanted to maybe focus a little bit more on this sustainability angle, because it is something that we're seeing more and more companies focus more and more on, which is delightful, I guess. But I don't know about you, but I sometimes feel a bit odd working with consumer electronics and basically well, in some way contributing to the ever-growing cycle of buying new products, sunsetting old products, and this, this ever-growing cycle of consumption. Don't you feel the same?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting point that you bring up, in particular considering we're facing a global chip shortage as well. This idea of sustainability, of recycling, of reusing products is more important than it's ever been before, because the demand for technology is increasing exponentially, and the materials that we use to make the stuff, it doesn't just come out of thin air. We need to find a way to take the resources and get the full value out of them before they're unusable again. So I think it's a good move that Acer is making. I think that it's something that we well, not only are we starting to see, but we should see even more commonly among the tech industry. And I think that this event here, which, as we've talked about a couple of times before, while it is quite unusual and a little different and something that we don't usually see in the tech industry, I think that this is the sort of event that might become more popular and more common over the next few years, especially as these moves towards helping and doing what we can to ease climate change and all the strain on the environment, as it becomes more and more necessary as we go through the decade.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, the problem, I think, at the heart of the matter is that completely sort of restructuring a production platform can be an incredible challenge. So when a company like Acer, a multinational sort of a conglomerate of a tech giant, one of the few actual sort of tech giants of the world, when they sort of create a goal for themselves to say that we want to act more environmentally responsible and be more sustainable in future, it's an incredibly advanced challenge that's going to take years, if not decades, to get around. But it's the kind of feelings that when a consumer thinks about it, myself as a consumer, when I think about the scale of the challenge, it can even it can both humble you, but it can also render you completely helpless and depressed, because how on earth would you be able to lift this task on your own, even if your fellow men and women do the same? How can we completely restructure the way that we live and consume products as we do? So it's nice, I think, in some ways, as we mentioned at the top of the show, that the sustainability angle is not an afterthought here, where you're kind of, you're in the middle of the excitement of looking forward to a new iPhone, and then they talk about the impact on the environment for 5 minutes, and then they move on to another product, and you're sort of caught in the cycle of hype and expectation and all of that stuff. But it seems to me, also judging from some of the videos that we are seeing on screen here, which is sort of the waiting video, like countdown videos to next to Acer, it's the main thing here. I really do hope that it's something that's going to emanate throughout the entire show, because it is something on my mind, and some like an ideal that I don't personally think that I live up to always, and would love to live up to always. If I may, this is not strictly an Acer product, but it's just something that got here at the Danish office, got us talking, because we were looking at the Fairphone 4 not too long ago, which is a smartphone which is completely designed and manufactured to such a degree that it really, really has environmental impact and sustainable production at the forefront of its design. It is actively sacrificing features in order to make it easier for both the end user to service and repair. The battery, for instance, is removable through an iFixit screwdriver, but it is also the way the plastics are made. It is also the way the lithium-ion batteries are put together. It is the acrylic and the glass in the display. It is every single aspect of its production where environmental impact has been taken into account. And that really got us talking. It got us thinking about, well, this is what it's going to take. It's not Apple removing the wall charger. It has to run much deeper than that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's interesting that you bring that up because I mean I keep flicking between this pre-show that Acer is showing themselves and what we're doing as well. But this particular advert here is about what seems to be the Aspire Vero, which is one of the models that we've talked about briefly earlier about how
Right, yeah.
we expect it to be sort of refreshed later today because this is sort of like the Acer's flagship green model. And you talk about there about how sustainability, it's not just about the actual product itself. It's more than that. It's also about the way that it's manufactured. It's the way that it's packaged. And that's one thing that the Aspire Vero has always done well, is that its packaging is it's 100% recycled materials. It's all it's like recycled cardboard. Yeah, it's all these different things that they do to make it just that little bit more sustainable and eco-friendly. Things that we don't often see in other parts of the tech industry. So it'd be interesting to see whether they're going to expand on that, whether it's going to become something that's more common in the other Acer products as well. But we'll find out sooner or later, as we're only 13 and a half minutes away from it starting at this point.
Yeah, and I mean the video actually. If you are planning on watching next today, so I would actually urge you to either continue to watch here or open the stream for yourself and actually pay attention to the video, because it is right now they're focusing mainly on Project Humanity. Project Humanity was actually started some years back and was mainly sort of I wouldn't call it a wish list, but some blue sky thinking and some actual initiatives that Acer themselves could do in order to decrease their carbon footprint and generally, redesign the way that they thought about product launches, product packaging, and all of that stuff in order to have a more sustainable production platform. It is really interesting, and it's actually not just something that Acer did. I actually read a couple of press releases from a little ways back, and in one of them, the CEO was actually talking about how they were expanding Project Humanity to include Acer's own production partners, that Acer themselves were handing out these challenges, trying to get other manufacturing partners to be a part of Project Humanity to see if they couldn't spread the good word in a way in order to make the entire manufacturing sector as aware as they wanted to be with Project Humanity. So that's really cool. Also, now that we keep seeing signs that something Predator related is going to be present at the show, because right now we have shifted gears quite considerably, I would say, Ben.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, first of all, is the cooler that you have over there. That to me is a sign of something that's to come. But we've also this is the second Predator advert, I believe, in this sort of pre-show trailer run-up or whatever you want to call it. So while the show, we do expect eco-friendliness, we do expect sustainability to be at the forefront. It seems like Predator is coming. There's going to be something Predator related. What exactly that will be, we'll have to find out. Like I said, Predator's quite a broad range of products. It can be desktops, monitors, laptops. Maybe, as you mentioned earlier, maybe some peripherals. Maybe they'll expand to that.
Or, we are also seeing a lot of manufacturers expanding their portfolio of product categories. So we could also be seeing something brand new and Predator related. So that is all really exciting as well. I do think, while it is certainly possible that they're going to be bringing the Made for Humanity tagline into Predator, I don't consider it very likely. It seems like the Made for Humanity and the sort of the antimicrobial stuff and the sustainable production pipeline stuff is going to be for the more accessible, like the high volume products, if you will. So that would be Nitro laptops, that would be Swift laptops, or the laptops that the Vero itself is actually modeled after. So I do think we're going to see quite a shift between the Predator and the sustainable focus. But that's all right with me. A lot of these really high-end gaming things aren't as high volume as some of these more cheaper sort of laptops are. And I think that is what matters. It's mainly like the main sustainable focus has to be on the products that you sell the most of, which I'm guessing is like these back to school ultra book like laptops. So it's really really interesting. and something that I've been looking forward to mainly because, as I said, I started just worrying more about my personal carbon footprint. And I know that's probably silly because if there's something that I've been told many times is that, well, you yourself sorting your garbage and living a more sustainable life, not consuming as many products, not not driving when you can cycle or walk. Those like really low practical everyday things. That's not actually what solves the problem. It's the major decision makers that you have to influence in order to make the big decisions that globally or at least on a national level improves things for the better in the future. But still, I don't know about you. I've just started thinking about it more. What I consume and what I do to live a different life. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's interesting you bring that up because, again, we bring this back to the Aspire Vero because the Aspire Vero is sort of like the flagship model for what Acer's trying to do here.
It's the symbol.
Yeah, exactly. It's the symbol for what Acer's trying to accomplish. And one of the interesting parts about what the Vero offers is a system called VeroSense, which is sort of a software that manages what your system's doing. So if not using it, or if what you're doing isn't that intense on the hardware, you can shift it and put it into eco mode or eco plus mode, so that it saves energy and you don't have to charge it as frequently or something like that. Or maybe if you do need all the hardware, maybe you do need to really push your system to its limits, you can switch it over to performance mode, and obviously it will drain the battery quicker, but that's what you're getting from that. You have the ability to sort of limit and manage the way that you use your products. And as we mentioned quite frequently on the show so far, maybe that's something we'll see brought to more products as well. Maybe VeroSense is just sort of an idea, and they intend to expand it even further, to include more, to be able to expand to more ranges of Acer products, so that they can, improve and encourage people to be a little more sustainable and save energy.
I mean, exactly. That was kind of what I was getting into, which is like it's a difficult balance to strike. Kind of realizing and acknowledging that it's going to take people with more power than your own to actually change things, but at the same time, not being completely defeatist and simply saying, "Well, personal accountability is out the door," because that doesn't matter in the ultimate sort of a carbon roundup. You kind of, if you want to show decision makers and people in power that this matters, well, then you're going to have to throw yourself at products like the Vero, use functions like VeroSense, basically just show. Look, that is also just the baseline of capitalism is you have to show manufacturers and companies what it is you care about. If they pick up that you care about sustainability and environmental impact, well, that's going to shape what kind of product portfolio they want to have, or what kind of features they want to develop. So it has to start with consuming and the consumer in some way. I mean, that is kind of, in my mind at least, without knowing too much about it, which I'm sure some people would be eager to point out. But to me, I mean, it's a really general thought that it starts with the person, and then it can sort of emanate throughout the entire system, and we can help shape the priorities. Certainly, I mean, it is consumers' eco-mindedness that has shaped Acer to want to be able to offer these kinds of solutions, isn't it? I would guess so.
Yeah, I would completely agree with that. I think, as the consumer in general, as a group, starts requesting more specific features from a company. I mean, if a large enough number of people start requesting those features, that the company has to start acknowledging them. And one of the things that in not just in Acer, the tech industry as a whole, is this idea of sustainability and what we want from products. It's not just obviously we want the products to be made a little bit more sustainably. We want them to be, manufactured in a sense that's less taxing on the environment. But it's also about energy. It's also about being able to, save battery without having to, just burn through your phone battery in hours. You want it to last for as long as possible, so you don't have to charge it as frequently. And that's the exact same with computers, with desktops, with PCs, laptops. Like, we all want these products to be as least electrically taxing, I guess you could say.
I agree.
So that it's far more sustainable and friendly to the environment. Because if these products aren't using electricity, then the electricity doesn't. It's less strain on the power companies and it's less strain on the environment.
Exactly.
It's just a tumbling effect at the end of the day.
Yeah, and also there's one thing that we actually haven't touched upon all that much, which is that there's sort of, it's a two-legged stool, if that makes any sort of sense. But one leg is obviously the way things are designed, the way things are manufactured. So something like the Vero is made with sustainably sort of aware packaging, as the videos themselves have revealed, and it is also made with more sustainable plastics. All of those different things. But the other thing, which is in the long run something that will loosen or basically remove some of the heaviness and the carbon in the overall carbon footprint, is right to repair, serviceability, modularity, all of these different things that we are also seeing a lot of like movement in the international consumer base within consumer electronics. Just this past year, we've seen a massive focus sort of shift over on serviceability and modularity, particularly with products like the Fairphone 4, I believe it's called the Framework laptop. I don't know if we're allowed to basically talk about other laptops than Acer's laptops, but the point of the matter is that one thing you can do as a consumer is to buy something like the Vero in order to tell decision makers, companies, that you care about the environment, but you can also buy stuff that you can service yourself, or you can get a semi-authorized or even unauthorized repair shop to repair for you. Buy phones where you can switch the battery so you can keep it going for longer when the battery starts, dying too soon. Buy stuff that you can fix yourself. Buy something where everything isn't soldered down, where you can add RAM if you need RAM, that you can switch the M.2 drive if you need more storage. Just the overall openness of consumer electronics kind of needs to be back. It needs to come back. And the consumer needs to ask for it, because that is kind of the opposite of that, everything being locked down. Well, that is what also keeps the cycle of consumption going, where people feel like they have to buy new iPhones every year, or Galaxy S series phones, or new MacBooks, or Microsoft Surface laptops, because there is no way that they can improve or repair the unit that they already have. So it is something that I think we need to focus more on as time goes by, and hopefully it is something that will happen. We are seeing it. Microsoft recently announced, I think it was called like something with sow, like sowing seeds, and at least a global initiative where they agreed in very vague terms, mind you, to make the Surface units easier to repair at a repair shop locally, instead of Microsoft controlling everything end to end. So that is something that I'm hoping will run across the entire consumer electronics industry, and hopefully make modularity and repairability more of a focus going forward. And now I've been talking so long that we are just a little over a minute away from the show, Ben.
Yeah, we are. I mean, just quickly touching on that, I mean, again, I keep bringing it back to the Aspire Vero, because this is sort of, again, Acer's like title product on this sort of sustainability line. But it is a laptop that is designed with upgradability in mind. It is designed to be easily accessed and repaired and upgraded if you do whatever you want with it. And that's great. That's what we should be seeing more often, especially in the laptop space, which is a little bit, it's a bit less easy to upgrade and customize a device,
I would say so,
than an actual desktop is. But yeah, as you mentioned, we are 55 seconds away now, 54, 53, whatever, final speculation of quick final things. What do you expect to see, Magnus? What are you hoping to see
Oh crap!
in 45 seconds?
I do expect them to unveil a new desktop, because there has to be desktops. Every single manufacturer wants desktops and pre-builts to be available now that people can't buy graphics cards and won't be able to for a little while. How about yourself?
Oh, I mean, I'd really like to see them expand on, as you mentioned earlier, the Concept D stuff. You know, I'd really like to see some more stuff in here, because made for humanity, yes, environmentally friendly, sustainability, but I also think ergonomics. I think made for humanity means ergonomical products designed for the consumer. But unfortunately, that's all we have time for, because we're going to the live show right now. Here we go.
Okay, let's put it through. All right, already you can see here that, like, this is a very sort of origami kind of paper-like theme we got going on, yeah?
Yeah, I'm seeing... I thought they were trees, but maybe they're chips. I'm not too sure, though.
Well, maybe something in between.
Maybe something in between. That's exactly it.
Hello, Jason.
Oh, leaves. Yeah, it's all eco-friendly, sustainability.
Very eco-friendly and sustainable, I would say. And there we have Mr. Jason Chen.
It feels like so much has happened since our last Next at Acer. But with everything going on in the world, there are a few things that remain constant. We continue to move forward, and people everywhere waking up and pressing issues facing our generation and beyond. Today, we are thrilled to share what we have been working on with clear purpose in mind. Our product and announcement today aim to address some of the causes important to humanity. And when we say humanity, we mean the Earth. All those people live on it, and the quality of life and the sense of purpose that we can achieve. That's why today's event is themed, Made for Humanity. Over the past several months, we continue to see the needs of hybrid working and learning. These trends will likely to continue and evolve, affecting how we interact with our devices and technology in the future. Acer has a full lineup of devices to help remote and hybrid use. And in addition to our work and hybrid use case environment, we are excited to show some of our updates and putting antimicrobial technology in our devices. Acer has been implementing antimicrobial technology across a range of our products to reduce risk. Last year,
My God.
I'll knock the quality down a little bit and we'll crack on.
We are excited to show
Good.
some of our
It's because there are so many people watching the Next at Acer show.
Yeah.
It has to be breaking YouTube, all right?
Yeah, that's exactly it.
And by the way, here we have our first sort of semi-prediction, which is antimicrobial stuff.
last year.
It's interesting that we didn't actually talk about this, considering we're still coming off the back end of the pandemic. You know, you would expect companies to be taking this and learning from it and producing products on it.
I completely agree. I think the main reason why I didn't touch more upon it is we're in such a favorable position. Oh, the stream's down. So
Oh, is the stream
Go.
just gone down?
no, the main thing here is that here in Denmark we're in such a favorable position in terms of our COVID numbers and our vaccination numbers that people don't wear masks here anymore anywhere. It is basically. I'm not saying that it's a completed chapter and we're past it. There are still high infection rates, but it is something that we are working really positively with, and I feel like we're making really great strides. So that is why it's not something that is as much on my mind, but it is obviously internationally, and Acer is also operating in countries where, well, this is going to continue to be a focus.
I thought about it.
Absolutely.
Regular father and husband running errands.
So, and also, I don't know about you, but I'm guessing that we're going to use COVID-19, the entire global pandemic, as a sort of a first lesson as to how hygiene and, well, spread diseases through consumer electronics is going to, well, harm us in future as well. So, well, it's obviously going to be a focus going forward, even if it isn't COVID-19 related directly. Having antimicrobial technology on your laptop is going to help with the next potential pandemic now, isn't it?
Yeah, you think. I mean, and it's not just pandemics as well. Just as we go into the colder months, particularly in the northern hemisphere, the amounts of flu rates and colds and infections and whatnot escalate. So having these products and stuff on your devices just reduces the rate of micro growth, which, and obviously I'm not going to get into the intricacies of this, but we all know that our technology, our devices are generally not as clean as we think they are.
They are freaking disgusting most of the time. I mean, and we don't even need COVID-19 to tell us that, because there's been videos like all over YouTube and different video platforms where even just happy amateurs have examined this closely. Oh, by the way, we should look here. So, a silver ion antimicrobial agent. I actually have a little bit of information about that.
Yeah, please do.
So, it's basically it's an agent that is used in the coating on the surface of the chassis, the keyboard, the hinge, the fingerprint reader, even just labels, and has a proven microbial reduction rate of around 99.9%. So, it is actually, as you can see right there, by the way, it is not just it's not just a marketing gimmick. At least it doesn't seem like it.
No, of course not. I mean, it's the sort of thing that I'm surprised we don't see more of anyway. I'm surprised we don't see, tech companies expanding on this sort of thing and protecting people's devices from germs, considering technology is in a completely different state than it was 10 years ago. And 10 years ago isn't even that long ago,
And by the way, for the people out there watching who is questioning sort of the science behind this, well, I'd just like to point out that the silver ion antimicrobial agent that they use in the coating on these various products is both BPR and EPA compliant. So it is something that has been closely examined by experts and has been found to have the wanted effect. So it's not nothing. It is actually quite a lot of something. And whether or not you consider this to be like a noticeable problem in terms of hygiene when you're using your consumer electronics, your laptop, well, it is. We know that it is. So I think it's important that we pay attention. So now we're moving on to something Spatial Labs oriented, aren't we? Which feels to me like this is going to be Concept D.
And the Spatial Labs, not Spatial Labs, sorry, Concept D stuff. What we're talking about here is products that are designed for designers, should we say? People, not just gamers, not just people who go to work and use the regular laptop for emails and stuff. These are products that are designed for 3D artists and people who work in CAD systems, like engineers and whatnot. This is a specialized product, should we say?
Yeah, exactly. Because there are, just to be quite clear on what Acer is actually targeting here, because the thing is, there's a lot of prosumer laptops out there, which is essentially like laptops with a heavier graphics card, with more focus on cooling, maybe longer battery life, more color accurate screens, which you can buy for slightly more than your regular old Ultrabook. I mean, the MacBook Pro is a brilliant example of what a prosumer-ish laptop looks like. But, as Ben says, the step above that is Concept D, because you don't buy a Concept D laptop unless you are working in CAD, unless you are like something that's a person which has a very specific professional workflow that this laptop needs to support. I mean, it is really important to know that, I think.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, this isn't a laptop that's designed for the masses. This is designed for specific people. Not even just people in these jobs, people who are training to fill in these jobs. Students, people who are in universities and colleges around the world that are looking to become engineers or 3D designers. Like, this is what this is designed for, this product. And it's great to see that they're expanding on it, especially considering this is, ergonomics, as we mentioned earlier.
Exactly. So it makes a lot of sense. So the Spatial Labs thing is, as they say right there, is to make like in immersive and interactive learning spaces. I mean, again, that is all vague marketing, of course, but it is really important to hammer home the point that, again, this is made for professionals and not prosumers. It took me a long time. Essentially, like, it's because the word pro is being thrown around so handedly. Like, an iPhone 13 Pro has nothing pro about it. It is not pro in any way. It's made for casuals, essentially. Oh, so now this is actually really interesting. Something called C-Space, which is essentially a way for people to model and to work within 3D spaces using a stereoscopic 3D effect, I believe. Really, really cool.
Software that can be implemented as part of a remote strategy.
This is great for engineers, people who use CAD systems, which,
exactly.
I can't really go into the details of CAD systems because I don't understand it myself. But
no, not either. I'm going to throw the word CAD around.
Yes, exactly.
But I'm not actually going to understand what it is that I'm talking about.
Exactly. But as far as I can tell, I've got a few people I know who went to university, studied engineering, who are now engineers themselves. CAD is a system that is used for designing things, for designing specific
3D
products.
modeling.
This is exactly here what we're seeing right now, and being able to do this without being, specifically. Without doing it on a 2D place, being able to do it in front of you, like almost in VR, almost. That's how it looks. It's incredible.
Exactly. And it's also, we did see a few applications of learning here as well, using it in classrooms. And I do think that's a new way in which we can use something like that. That's really interesting. But the main thing here is what we're seeing on screen now, is like really advanced 3D modeling. People who create cars or really advanced objects that needs to be manipulated and designed in a 3D space in order to be considered complete and ready for manufacturing or full-scale production. So it is great to see. We've actually seen a lot of development in this creator-based space in the last couple of years with these machines slimming down, and we're actually seeing this firsthand right here, which I believe is our first real product reveal, which is the Concept D7 Spatial Labs edition. Really interesting stuff here. So already we're seeing a really important mark here, by the way. The first one was the Intel 8 series, 11th gen.
Yep, 11th gen.
Which is really good to see. Really good to see. The main thing, obviously, to take into account is that Acer is currently revealing 11th gen Intel products, just on the verge of the 12th Alder Lake 12th gen CPUs to be announced. But I'm guessing that there is going to be updates for these products as well.
You think so? With such a timing window. I mean, as well, it's also mentioned that this is going to be running on a RTX 3080 graphics card as well. So you get, again, this is really important for people working in 3D imagery. You want
very
to
much.
have really high quality images, and that's exactly what this graphics card is going to be able to offer you.
Yeah, I mean that's absolutely correct. So, and again, an 11th gen H series i7 processor and a RTX 3080, particularly if you are able to equip it with vast amounts of RAM, which I'm guessing that you can, is really interesting. But the main thing that makes this interesting, I believe, is that stereoscopic 3D imaging effect created by the two, which I'm guessing are not webcams, but is this way of eye tracking to create that 3D effect. That is really, really interesting to me. I don't quite remember ever seeing something like this. I mean, the last time I saw an out-of-box 3D effect was, the 3DS, right?
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. Obviously, this is significantly advanced use of that, but it's also, it's surprising to see that. I mean,
and also, but because look at right now, this demonstration right here, this is Glassless 3D, I'm guessing, because she's not wearing glasses currently. There were some demos just before when we were looking at the Spatial Lab stuff, but it seems to me that it is this AI-enabled 2D to 3D transformation. which is look, that person is not wearing 3D glasses either.
No,
so
and the really
that's really
thing about
interesting to
it,
me.
And the interesting thing about it as well is, talking about the 3DS, how that had that little slider on the outside where you could switch between 2D and 3D. You can do it on this as well. You can do 2D to 3D instantly, which is again a really interesting little feature that we haven't really ever seen explored, particularly in the laptop space.
So I'm guessing, this is just guesswork now, because I either didn't pick it up in the presentation. I'm guessing that they also feel like that there is a real professional application here, seeing as 3D modeling is easier if the laptop screen itself can emulate a 3D space. How efficient and effective and work altering this can be, we just don't know yet. We're going to have to actually look at the laptop and see what kind of difference it will actually make. So, again, it's going to be interesting. So, as you can also see, it seems that the cameras are doing more, that you can also have some kind of hand gesturing as well. Again, we've seen that fail a couple of times, the Google Pixel 4. Like, if Google can't do something, that might be because it's really hard. So, we'll see what this looks like and whether or not gesturing with your hands is actually an input method that you would prefer and that would actually use.
Yeah, and as well, we'll have to see how deep it is as well. Obviously that little show there was sort of swipe to the right, a little expansion with the finger and thumb. It's difficult to know how deep that system's going to be. It's something that we'll sort of have to explore when the laptop comes out, which hopefully we'll find out
And
soon.
it should also just be said that if you don't know what Spatial Labs is, basically Acer back in May unveiled a Spatial Labs developers program for Unreal Engine 4, or not Unreal Engine in general, which is a 3D tool which gives them like the freedom to basically configure a bunch of different things like cars and like games as well. But speaking of games, it seems like we're moving.
Yeah, here we go, Predator. As we expected. I mean, we expected it to be here. Then they went and showed 3 ads back to back or whatever in the pre-show thing, and it was sort of like, oh, Predator's going to be here. But what have we got exactly? I mean, I can see both a monitor and a desktop in the background.
Oh yeah,
so,
you're right. They're right over there on the left, aren't they?
So, I don't know. We'll find out. Here we go.
Already liking the look of the monitor.
Newly released AAA games are incredible. Unfortunately, they tend to be very power hungry.
Oh, they are doing it.
While we're here, we need powerful gears as well.
That's right, which is why today we want to introduce the latest.
Oh, hang on a minute.
Oh no, come on, Acer.
We would like to introduce to you the newly released Orion 7000. Let's look at it.
So it is a desktop. The Orion
7000. A new pre-built.
A new pre-built, which is again, as you mentioned earlier, crucial in this situation we're in, where no one can get an RTX 3000 series graphics card. So
no one can get graphics cards, and it seems like the chip shortage is going to expand onto other parts of the gaming space as well. So pre-builds is for a lot of people the only way that they can get a modern system. And by the way, speaking of Alder Lake CPUs, that supports up to Alder Lake. So this is a 12th gen Intel machine,
which means it's going to be incredibly powerful. And as it also showed in there as well, it's going to be liquid cooled, which means you shouldn't have any issues, or you should have very few issues. I'm going to have to knock the settings down. I don't know whether this is on my end. If it is, I apologize.
Oh no,
hold on.
We're crashed completely.
Give me a second. I'm just going to reboot
By the way, Ben, let me just tell you that just as you went down, my separate thing here, from where we have one of the fastest connections in the world, went down as well.
Oh, that makes me feel far better.
I think it's universal.
Okay, well, I've got the stream back up again. Here we are. I'm having to run it at low quality because I just, like I said, I don't know whether this is me. If it is, I apologise. I have various different things that I'm currently running off my internet right now. But we'll carry on. But yeah, as I was saying beforehand, before that all happened, it's liquid cooled. So you'll be able to run these really
cool.
Yeah, you'll be able to run these really powerful games, and your CPU and your GPU should maintain a particularly low temperature. Obviously, the more powerful things you run, you start trying to do 8K gaming, for example, it's probably going to play a little differently. But for the most part, you're going to get a high quality PC box things.
it seems to be a top-mounted AIO, and then there are massive fans at the front. I don't know how big, but I'm guessing, I don't know if that's 140 millimeters, but they are really big. And I actually kind of dig the design of it. I personally don't like tempered glass side panels. I want it to be like, stealth all the way around, but I will give them the benefit of the doubt and say that it does look like a really serious machine.
And
It's DIY ready, so that must mean that it's easily accessible. Usually, I will say that pre-builds are, so it's not something they're revolutionizing, but it is cool that they've designed it with that in mind.
I mean, as well, what we just saw on the inside there was four RAM slots that were full as well. So if I had to guess, we're looking at 64 gigabytes of RAM as well. So you're absolutely stacked there. You're not gonna have any issues with RAM.
And also, I'm sure that a lot of people out there have gone to websites like Dell and ordered a gaming desktop, and found that when it arrived, it had a single stick of RAM, meaning that you're running single channel RAM, which is just, in some cases, can cut your performance in half. So to just see several RAM slots occupied is obviously a good place to start.
Exactly.
Micro-channel cold plates, ceramic axes, and reinforced sleeving. These are all small things, but it is really cool. And there are a lot of people who just have bad experiences with pre-builds, so hopefully this will change that. So
yeah, exactly.
Also, they spoke about the monitor very briefly, I think, but now we're already moving on to another segment.
Yeah, so this is interesting because so this is Frankie. I don't know whether anyone here knows who Frankie Ward is, but she's an esports commentator and caster. And
really,
she does a lot in the esports scene. Yeah, she's very well known for that. She's also expanding her reaches over the years as well into PC gaming, and she hosted the recent PC gaming show E3. So.
I was on parental during E3, so I didn't watch any of the shows.
No, of course. But no, it looks like what we're getting here though is just a demo of the Orion 7000 more than anything. It doesn't look like anything new's being announced. When you're seeing the RGB in effect, I mean, that's a lot of RGB. That's what I will say. A lot of RGB going.
I will also just critique Acer a little bit, which I feel like is okay, even though they're watching. And why do you make monitor stands where the feet on the stand are so wide that they take up so much unnecessary desk space? Because I feel like people that has the money to spend usually don't tend to live in palaces. They live in small huddled up apartments. That's basically just the way mankind is pushing itself further and further into tight spaces. So monitors we should have the technology to manufacture monitors that take up less space on the desk so we can fit other stuff there. But I mean, look at those two metal prongs. That seems unnecessary to me. So why not just make a little circular stand, or even something beautiful like in aluminium or something like that? I'm sure you have the resources to design and manufacture that.
No, I do understand what you mean there, and I agree with it. I have a monitor myself, which is, well, I have two monitors here in front of me. One of them is a monitor that's designed to be used in 4K, and it's just a typical base. It's nothing particularly special there. And then I have a gaming monitor with one of those three-prong stands, and it takes up the entire desk. So I do see where you're coming from there. It can be a little bit of a hassle getting it onto your desk, so I get that.
It's particularly that you need a really deep desk in order to, because maybe it's just me, but I have my keyboard pretty far away from my hand, so it seems ergonomic to me that I can rest my entire sort of wrist and lower arm on the desk before reaching the keyboard with my hands. It's just a more ergonomic position for me, and I need a really deep desk in order to do that with gaming monitors. So that's really annoying as well. So coming up to the actual stream here again, up to 2 terabytes of NVMe SSD storage with PCIe Gen 4 capability. That's great. You can get it with up to a 3090. I actually don't know a lot of pre-builds which offer 3090s at all.
I mean, it's interesting that. I mean,
That is interesting.
it's definitely a very powerful computer by the looks of things. You know,
Yeah.
anything that's got a 12th gen or can run a 12th gen Intel CPU, as
Yeah.
well as an RTX 3090 and has 64 gigabytes of RAM, you know you're in for a quality product here. Like that.
Also, we're actually, interestingly enough, we are seeing Steve Long from Intel take this digital stage. Now, I don't think he's going to be talking about Alder Lake specifically, because I'm guessing Intel is going to have their own show on Alder Lake and release the product in not too long. But they have said that it will host an Alder Lake. But the big question is whether or not this will have the big beast 12900K CPU, which we're guessing, the i9, which we're guessing is going to be sort of the star of the show when Intel finally does spill the beans on like actual Alder Lake numbers. But at least if you are the kind of gamer who is about to drop a lot of dough on an Orion 7000, you know that Acer is future-proofing it with Alder Lake CPUs. So, by the way, you can see, yeah, again, pretty vague, powered by 12th gen Intel core. I mean, that means very little, because it could be a really small i5, or it could be the big bad boy i9. But, you know, we're guessing it's going to be the latter rather than the former.
And of course, you know, obviously, it's hard to really sit here and say anything bad about it right now because we haven't tested it and all the specs look great.
The thing, yeah.
But you know, we got to make sure that the cooling system, which is a major part of this, you know, that liquid cooling system, you have to make sure that it works well and it does disperse the heat, because otherwise these systems, which are going to be very heat intensive, particularly a 3090, you have to make sure that it stays cool, otherwise you can have a lot of issues with it. So hopefully the PC will be able to do that, and yeah.
And I mean, all of this, by the way, is just really cool. So, you know, killer Wi-Fi 6E, killer Ethernet, PCI 5.0, and DDR5 memory. Those are all technologies which is like on the verge of hitting the market. So one thing is absolutely clear, and that is the Orion 7000 is going to be a bleeding edge machine, which is great because, well, we have in the past seen manufacturers like Acer and Asus and HP unveil products just as NVIDIA and Intel or AMD was about to release new CPUs or GPUs or something like that, which completely altered and transformed the playing field so that these seemingly new products were already kind of unnecessary or old, and that's not something that's going to like persuade you to buy a pre-built. That's going to do the opposite. So and by the way, I'm guessing that is also why they haven't put a firm release date on the Orion 7000. It's just going to be available later this year, and people are, you know, spurred on to keep their holiday shopping lists open. I'm guessing they are also waiting for announcements from Intel, so we're gonna have to wait until they finally talk to us about Alder Lake.
Exactly.
Which I'm guessing is gonna be next month. But now we're gonna look at a monitor.
Here we go. Yeah, and it's like it's as you mentioned though, you know.
No, it's not a monitor. It's a projector.
Oh, here we go. 4K UHD LED projection.
A gaming projector. Acer, you sly fox.
What's that? 240 hertz on PC, 120 hertz on console.
Well, that's HDMI 2.1 for you, I guess. That's really interesting to me.
Smart projector.
It's easy to use.
Oh, there we go. Antimicrobial.
Yeah, there you go. So it actually was there.
For a few reasons, but some might question, you know, why projectors, why Predator, why now? And the honest answer is
good
that
questions.
they've finally reached an affordable price point, and the features are competing with a lot of the gaming monitors that are out there in the market as well.
And also, it's for the whole room, not just for one desk.
Exactly. Like this thing can project up to 300 inches.
Wow.
That is a big screen. I mean,
is it difficult to install a projector?
That's the thing, is I don't really know. I've never used a projector in my own home.
I mean, me neither. Do you have to have like a shelf from the ceiling where you place it? Or can it be in like desk height?
I assume it can be at desk height, judging by what they're showing here. the thing is obviously a projector scales, doesn't it? Depending on how far away you have it from where it's projecting. So
I think also both Ben and I should say that 4,000 LED lumens is not something that I'm actually aware whether or not that's impressive enough. I'm not into projectors as such. Neither does a 2 million to 1 contrast ratio mean all that much to me.
They did just mention at the in there that they said that it's comparable to an OLED TV, I believe. So you can probably get an idea as to what that sort of quality is going to be like.
And also the main thing, I've just seen a couple of projectors being tested around the office here, and the one thing is just light. I'm guessing that was the LED lumens parameter that they were talking about. But the point of the matter is that it gets so different if you're using a projector in an everyday living room where there is natural light influx from windows and doors, and does something like this require you to have blinds on all your windows and be completely locked in before you use it, or is it usable during the day, for instance? That's something that's going to be interesting to test.
That's a very good point. I mean, there's a reason why, if particularly like drive-in cinemas, there's a reason why they don't work in the day, right? There's a reason why you don't generally get that, or particularly here in the UK, we don't. Drive-in theatres and whatnot, they're usually things that happen in the evening, in the nighttime or whatever.
Yeah, true.
Or you just go to an action cinema, which is just a blacked-out screen, of course. So
yeah. So it's a really interesting product. I can't wait to see whether or not it makes sense. So now we're going straight like green PC, it seems. So maybe now it's Vero time.
Maybe. By the looks of things, with the big cardboard box in the background, I'd assume that we're...
Oh, yeah. I remember. I also think, isn't that a Vero over to the right? Oh, Aspire Vero.
Yeah, here we
green
go.
PC. There we go.
PC.
Yeah. With Windows 11, obviously, we are past the official launch day of Windows 11, so we expect that all new laptops and desktops are going to come with that OS installed now, which is good. All right, so now we're going to see the Vero and the packaging.
So I assume this is the Vero that's already available right now, right? Otherwise.
Oh yeah. The Vero is currently available. The thing is that availability of the Vero has been, as far as I can tell, hasn't been as broad as perhaps we would have liked. But it does seem like that this is a refresh more so than anything else. 21%.
100% recyclable materials in the box as well.
Yeah, that's really cool as well. I mean, you can be cynical, but I just don't see a reason to. It's good. It's good. Like even if it doesn't go as far as they could, I'm not sure that it does. This is just good. This is something that we can wholeheartedly say is a good thing. Regardless of who you are, you should have an invested interest in keeping the planet cleaner and reduce our overall carbon footprint. And if this is a step along the way to do that,
exactly.
Why would you be against it?
And if Acer can do this, there's no reason why other companies should be able to do
this
as well.
exactly. Exactly.
It's a chain effect of dominoes. You'd think that.
Yeah, I would guess so. Yeah.
Other companies should be looking at Acer and going, "This is what we should be doing as well."
I hope so. Oh, Red Dot. I've heard that the Red Dot stuff is a bit finicky. That you essentially pay for a Red Dot design award. That it's not as prestigious as you'd think, but still, that the packaging on it is cool. I mean, that is cool.
I've seen as well on the Acer Veros as well that there's parts of the packaging that can be that can be used as a stand for the monitor
Yeah, we just saw that. Look at that. Yeah, there you go. People usually pay for those things, so to get it in the box is not the worst thing in the world.
No, exactly.
By the way, did you see that little recharge the planet thing wrap that's around the charger on the table? Is that on there, or is that something that you can take off?
That's a good question. And I'm not too sure about myself right now.
No. Designed with energy conservation. That was what you were talking about before, about being able to go longer on a charge.
The VeroSense.
Extending the time between trips to the plug.
But like, it's a system that's been designed not to limit you. It's there to be used when you can use it. You know, the performance mode is still there. If you need to use the performance mode, it's not limiting you to not being able to use it. You can, which is all.
Yeah, I'm guessing you're right. Yeah, it's interesting. It's a really interesting prospect.
And together we can make our planet better. VeroSense helps our users also play an important role in environment protection by adjusting their daily usage. Every little bit of energy saved, multiplied by our large user base, can make a huge difference for the Earth. With all that said, we are excited that AspireVero is now available worldwide from our channel partners. In addition to the AspireVero laptop, we also
green accessory line as well.
Accessory line, including keyboards,
Wow.
mice, mouse
So
pads,
that was peripherals.
There we go.
It wasn't what I initially thought it was going to be, but I will take it.
And all of them are made from recyclable materials as well, which is interesting.
Our Vero products
Yeah, that's
are for
lovely.
anyone who wants to help the environment.
Again, I find it really hard to be cynical when there is stuff about that. You know.
Help create a better future together. We believe by working together, we can achieve more. That's right. Environmental protection is important for everyone. But for companies, environment, social, and governance, or in short, ESG, is a critical topic that needs to be addressed.
Well, I actually heard a very critical word, ESG.
Yes. Vero
ESG.
products are
So I'm not too sure whether it was already mentioned here, and I missed it, but I know for a fact that the AspireVero itself is made using post-consumer recycled plastic as well. So, you know.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, the actual model itself is made through the majority of the chassis is made using that system, and then as well there's a variety of other different things that are all put into the AspireVero, which is why it has that texture on the actual, you know, on the laptop.
Oh,
It seems a little
right,
bit like,
yeah.
you know, it seems a little bit sandy to the eyes. You know, you look at it like that. I mean, obviously this model
Yeah.
is black, so it's harder to tell.
I actually have a couple of just interesting things about the packaging and the overall sort of the AspireVero in general, which is just, you know, for instance, all of the printed text on the box is made with soy ink.
Soy ink.
You know, yeah, it's just one of those things. It's brilliant when you think about it, isn't
That
it?
is,
I mean,
and we got a new product here as well.
the panel in the AspireVero is 99% recyclable.
That's incredible.
Oh, by the way, that's a new one, isn't it?
This is the TravelMate Vero. I mean, my thingy keeps freezing. I'm not sure whether it's on my end. I've changed the quality several times.
I'm also experiencing the same, I should say.
I think we might be having an issue here. It keeps getting stuck at the exact same point, so I'll just keep an eye on it a moment.
But what I can tell right here, I'm stuck at the same point, so it does seem to be no, now we're past it.
We passed it, I think, yeah.
By the way, 11th gen Intel processor, so the same basic problem is that this is just presumably not an Alder Lake supported unit for now, but it seems to double or at least continue the trend of the Vero, meaning 50% PCR plastic on keyboard caps, 30% PCR plastic on whole chassis and screen bezel. So it's just basically, oh, by the way, a mini PC. This is actually a really popular format. It's becoming in like the business sector, for instance.
Yeah.
And then your monitor as well.
That is a very small PC. An incredibly
very
small
small.
PC. 100% recycled.
Oh, by the way, next generation Intel Core vPro processors.
So they're the processors that are designed for consumer use, right? Sort of. I can't remember what they're called. Is
think
it
so.
Intel XZ, like Xenon? Is that what they're called?
Because Xenon is like the server-based.
Is it? Okay.
That's Xeon stuff. I actually haven't heard of vPro before, but I think that's on my end and not because it's actually new. Maybe it's Intel's new Big Little designs, like the stuff they use. They are sort of battling ARM processors on, but I just actually don't know.
I mean,
But it's interesting. It's a
yeah,
really small enclosure.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this PC again, this mini PC is designed for business use and it's designed for office use. This is a compact design. It's not going to be. It's probably not the sort of PC you're going to buy at home, right? It's probably not the sort of PC you get at home because it's It's going to be, if I had to guess, it's probably going to be widely available for business use. It's probably going to be easy to set up. It's probably going to be generally just designed to just slot into an office with as little hassle as possible. And here we go, upcoming Vero products as well.
Yeah, I mean, this. I think we're getting to the end of the show. This is all that's been announced so far. So there has been some of the peripherals, the monitor, the mini PC, the updated Vero, and the Vero TravelMate. So really cool. Oh, by the way, and now we're gonna head over to Panos Panay, which is like the main creative fluff guy over at Microsoft. Like, he is usually actually really interesting to listen to, despite the fact that he does throw out a lot of hyperbole usually. Like, watch his Surface Duo presentation. He gets the job done, but you know, he turns the knob all the way up to 11 always. But it is cool, and he is some of the main designers and design executives at Microsoft.
Became available last week. I've been using it for about a week myself, and it's built with 30% PCR.
So the Acer Aspire Vero became available last week, apparently. I thought it was widely available before that, but apparently it's relatively.
I didn't know that either. So that is really interesting.
Yeah.
This is critical. And along with the extended Vero line of devices, this is a beautiful step forward for sustainability and hardware.
I do like the black one.
It's not just about computing.
I like the black one as well. Yeah.
It's about how we deliver products that empower everyone, including our future generations. At Microsoft, we're committed to a carbon negative, water positive, and zero waste future by 2030. And part of that commitment is about how we build our own products.
I wonder if we'll start seeing a Microsoft conference similar to this then, to focus on their thingy.
It seems like Panay is really into it, and and obviously since Acer was able to get him on, it is something that Microsoft again. I think it's called As You Sow. By the way, I'm remembering now, which is this global initiative to make Microsoft Surface products and perhaps even Xbox consoles more user accessible, repairable, and serviceable in future. So I guess you probably are right.
That'd be very interesting, especially with the Xboxes. Oh, have we gone
again? Oh no!
I think he's gone again.
Mine also died at exactly the same point. I'm guessing, like, I'm in Denmark, you're in the UK. I'm guessing that it is just server side, that it's not us. Hopefully.
A lot of people watching the stream put a little bit of stress on it by the sounds of things.
Yeah, it seems.
And here we got Earth Ion program, which again, this was something I believe they revealed or they announced at the event earlier this year, which was in April, I believe. Which is that commitment to environmental friendly and sustainability.
Yeah, exactly. And it's also something that we talked about it just before the show went live, which is essentially, that it's an incredibly complex thing to redesign, reevaluate, and redo your entire production pipeline. But it is really interesting.
Some of the works and milestones that we are achieving. Stay tuned.
Oh.
For everything we do.
I think that's it, Ben.
Oh, here we go. I think we're right at the end, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's been an absolute joy. You can read about all of these different things on Game Reactor. I'm guessing, Ben, that you'll be putting together some news summarizing the stuff that we've learned today.
Yeah, of course.
I guess all that's left is to say thank you so much for joining us. We will be tuning out now. I'll be drinking all of this lovely energy drink now and getting back to writing about some of this stuff. So, thank you very much for joining us. I hope you have enjoyed taking a peek into the future of how consumer electronics manufacturers and businesses can conduct themselves in a more environmentally friendly way in the future. So thank you, Ben, and thank you out there for joining us. Thank you to Acer for collaborating with us on this show. And we'll talk to you again soon.
Yep.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.